mandalas and radial design. And I'm going to be not only showing you some things, but going over the classwork for the week. And you'll have time to get started on that today at the end as well. So I wanted to talk about mandalas. In my other two classes today so far, I said something about mandalas kind of in contemporary life, like what's happening now around us, because I expected more people to have experience with them, and I was very surprised that people didn't, because they're kind of everywhere now. So I was surprised about that. Does anybody have any experience with mandalas? That could be an art project in the past, or um, it's kind of a craze right now to have like the adult coloring books that have mandalas in them to color, or anything else, tapestries, like decoration. Anybody have any experience with mandalas in their life?
I just sketch them whenever I'm bored in class.
Oh, awesome. Were you shaking your head? Yes? No? You draw them too? Or, or me too. Okay. So some sketching from Emma, some coloring books from Mary Carol and I. Zachary and Seth didn't say anything. No? Okay. I remember when my daughter Emily was in um, elementary school at AES, and she did a mandala drawing project with Mr. Van Houten. So if you think back, maybe you did. Art teachers don't always do the same thing every year, so it's possible, that that was just something she did one year. Also, I feel like sometimes Mrs. Williams does something in middle school with that. The reason that art teachers love doing mandalas is it's a great place, first of all, to teach radial design, which is a really important concept, but also it gives a great chance to do things like teach shading or color theory. I'm bringing in shape, or line is a nice thing. So it's got a lot of really important art concepts, which is probably one of the reasons why, it's been around for so long as a design, and a really versatile and important art concept. Not that art teachers were teaching about it forever, but just that people were creating them. So like Emma just said, she was kind of doodling with them, and I've been drawing them for several years myself. Sometimes it's a doodle, other times it's like drawings that take me hours and hours and hours. So let's talk about that for a second. So on the slide, you can see it says the word mandala comes from very ancient classical language of Sanskrit, and that the word mandala translates into circle. So long ago, long, long, long ago, mandalas were a spiritual, religious sort of symbol that had meaning, that was really kind of big and universal. It had meaning, uh, which probably some of you are already kind of familiar with. Like if you think of even religious sort of applications that we have today, like a ring in a wedding ceremony, or certain symbols like the yin and the yang, which is round, or lots of other things that involve a circle, could represent the universe, or time, or sort of all encompassing. Like it represents a lot of things that are very big sort of concepts. So mandala art, and in art, has that kind of roots. Okay. So when people were drawing mandalas, some cultures use them to represent spiritual or religious ideas. Some people use them for a sort of meditation. There were monks, and they still do this actually, that, and maybe you've heard of this or seen it, you forgot, I don't know, but they used colored sand, and they would work on the ground and make huge mandalas. Sometimes they're like 4 or 5, 6 feet across, and get down and just do this very precise pouring and applying of sand. And they would do it like continuous until they were done. It could take like a day. And then when they were done, people would view it, or not, depending on where it was and who they were, like who was doing it. And then it would just be destroyed because mandala making sometimes is for the act of doing it, not really even the finished product. Okay. So, like, whether you're coloring or drawing it or creating it with sand, which is by like definition going to be temporary, it's the coloring, the drawing, the making that's the healing or the meditative process, not what you have at the end, which is not a common sort of like approach in art. A lot of times we're making art to be displayed or given to someone, or it has value as a finished product, right? So that whole idea of the making of it being the important part is pretty key to mandalas. Take a look here in this green part here. This is not my quote. This is something I found. It says, mandala in art is something that started off as a spiritual symbol in Buddhism and Hinduism, but as they infiltrated other cultures, mandala became a general term for geometrical patterns. They are mostly circular, but they can be of various shapes, and they're commonly used as drawing or coloring exercises meant for relaxation and or concentration. This kind of carries on their original spiritual meaning and symbolism, following the patterns to go through a journey inside your mind. So nowadays, with the whole uh, adult coloring thing, or Zentangle, you may have heard of, which is intricate drawing, where the repetition and the detail is supposed to be soothing and like a form of concentrating to soothe your mind and focus your mind and concentrate. That's sort of like the contemporary focus of mandalas. So, here, let me show you this thing that I have here that I found, which I think in some ways really sums up. So, when you're looking at, or when you're, I shouldn't say when you're, well, it could be when you're looking at, like maybe you guys have heard of this modern word called mindfulness. Mindfulness is a concept that is pretty popular right now, but it's a super old concept because it's really just about being in the present, not worrying about what happened, not worrying about the future, just thinking about, what you feel right now, what you're thinking about right now, what you can do right now. So people that draw or write or do yoga or whatever with the intention of thinking about and being in the present, that's tied in for some people with mandalas and that kind of concentration of being very aware of yourself and your feelings. So if you've heard that word mindfulness, a lot of people tie that to mandala making or looking at art like mandalas and all its intricacy and stuff like that. So if you're interested in drawing this type of art, you can um, maybe notice that you're really soothed and calmed by doing that. That's a really good application of modern day sort of mandala making. Okay. So I wanted to show you that. I touched on this history, but I'm not going to go into it too deeply. That's one of your options this week for classwork, is to get a little bit of research into the background of mandalas. Okay, so you're going to see this on my screen, but this here is a link that I would love for you to play with as well. Oops, that did not work. Let's try that again. There we go. So this is a online mandala creator that I found because there are apps that you can use, but my favorite app for mandala creation, which is uses symmetry and like mirroring and stuff, costs $1, and the school wouldn't get it for me, which I don't understand why, because they had been buying all the apps. So if you want to get it, I highly recommend it. It's called Amaziograph. And then I was looking to see if we could do that in like our Photoshop apps or Fresco, and you can't yet. The only app you can do that in that I was able to find that's a good drawing app is Procreate, but that's a $10 app. So You could buy that for yourself if you'd like. Otherwise, we're going to have to kind of do it the hard way, but it's not that hard. It's all right. We can handle it. But online, I found this one, and this one has not got the individual drawing ability, but it is still pretty fun. So if you follow this link yourself from the website, you click on one of these numbers and it gives you the ability to choose a shape. So there are very basic shapes. Oh, and by the way, Statler is a company that makes art supplies. So they're pretty reputable. They've been around a long time. They're like a German company, I believe. Then you can change, you can change the number of items on each of these layers. You change the size. You can rotate them. Oh, that's cute. I like that. You can change the size of the layer and you can also rotate it. Okay. Then you can go to the next one. And here you can, again, pick whatever kind of shape you want, whether they're going to be overlapping, how big they are. No, I definitely wanted them in. I was just having a lot of fun playing with this. And you can, so you can obviously, you can add up to 6 layers. I think this is a pretty fun little thing. Ooh, gross. When you're drawing on paper, as you might imagine, sometimes, I mean, you can use pencil and try stuff out, obviously, but sometimes it's hard to know what's going to happen and what it's going to look like until you put it down there. So that is one of the things that when I was playing with this and as I continue to play with this, I do really like is that you can see, even though you don't have the ability to draw whatever you want, you have to kind of pick what they're giving you. I do like that I can mess with it and try things and move things. Like that's really fun. Gross. I know I say that all the time. I was commenting on that when I was playing with it last night, to my person. I was like, it's so funny how I can be like, I love that. And then the next second I'll be like, ew, gross. Because just a little bit of a change made me either hate it or love it, you know? If I can bring that in there. That's cute. Okay, so then when you decide you're done, you say finish, and then you can either print it and then you have your own to color that you designed, which I thought was pretty fun. That's nice. And you could even draw on it more if you wanted, or you can download it as it comes down as a PDF, but you could change that PDF to a JPEG and then you could like, you know, plaster it anywhere you wanted digitally. And then you can also still print it. So that's linked to right here. And I think that would be fun for anybody to play with. And a good idea starter and just fun to work with. Does anybody have any questions about that generator or sort of the origins of, I mean, I didn't get too deep into that, but a little bit about mandalas? Hi, Piper. Okay, so now what I would like to do is move that discussion there into classwork because it's directly related, obviously. Okay, so when we're looking at the classwork here, you can see, oh shoot, let me refresh that because I definitely, oh, I thought I did, maybe I didn't. Thought I added a picture for the third one, but I don't know if I did. Okay, so today we're going to just talk about the classwork, but it's worth sort of giving a second worth of attention to the, oh, sorry, to the artwork for the week, because when you're choosing which classwork you want to do, it's helpful to know what you might be doing past that. And also, actually, before I get into that all the way, I wanted to mention what's happening with the schedule. So this week is all messed up, you know, because of the two snow days. And then next week we have a 4-day week because Friday and Monday are President's Day days off. So what I intend to do is we have today and tomorrow, and then 4 days next week. And so I'm going to make this artwork due all the way on the following Tuesday so that you have more time to work on it, you know, a little bit more than usual. So looking down the middle column, which is the artwork, everything is going to be some variation of radial design and kind of, you know, variation of mandalas. But only one of them would be a hand-drawn mandala. So if you like drawing mandalas, there's one that's all drawing, okay? If you don't want to draw, there are two that are not drawing but are still radial design, okay? So that's definitely our gig this week, shape and radial design. But if you don't want to draw, there are two other options, okay? One of the options is going to be origami and making a radial design heading out from the middle with origami. And the other will be a found natural object radial design that you take a picture of, okay? So we'll get into those more maybe tomorrow, definitely Monday. But keep that in mind so that when I'm going over the classwork right now, you could maybe plan ahead a little bit as to how that might impact your decision. So first I want to start with number 2. Number 2 says a 6-slide presentation and critique on the history and meaning of mandalas. So this is a nice alternative to if you're not interested in drawing a practice mandala right now, or if you're just interested in learning more about mandalas in general, you could do this. So for this one, you're going to use a template that I've created for you and do a 6-slide presentation, okay? It's all set up for you. When you go to the assignment on Schoology, it'll force you to make a copy of the presentation, and then you're just going to create it from there. It's not that big. I'm going to show you what it looks like, but you're going to insert images and get some information about mandalas, and then create that slideshow. So here's a sample and also the directions. Slide 1 has your title and your name. Slide 2, describe what a mandala is using credible resources that you're going to list on the last slide. Slide 3, give examples with text and images of cultures and religions throughout history that have held mandalas as important. And there's plenty of examples because they've really kind of infiltrated many different cultures and time periods. Slide 4, give examples of contemporary mandalas and their uses. Slide 5, complete a critique using the questions provided of a mandala you really respond to or like. And then slide 6 is just a slide for you to put your sources, okay? And then just to include at least 5 different ones throughout. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like so that you can see a finished example, because that's my little example, but I'll show it to you large so that you can see. Forgot to leave it open, so now I'm going to get it. Here it is. Okay, so here's my example so that you can see what one would look like roughly, you know. Okay, so here's just the cover, and I just threw this mandala that I liked everywhere to make it look pretty. I didn't include real text, as you can see, because I wanted you to do the hard work. What is a mandala? Oh, here, look, this is the one of the ones with sand. Isn't that ridiculous? That's colored sand, and this is like a tool that the guy uses to apply the sand without it falling all over. It's crazy. The contemporary use of mandalas and what they're for. Here is one of my drawings, and then I critiqued my own drawing, which was kind of weird, but sort of interesting actually. These are the questions, and that's just a sample of like how you would critique a mandala. And then here's how you would cite it, like just as an example. Okay? Anybody have any questions on choice 2? Okay. Choice number 1, on the other hand, is a practice simple mandala. Okay, so this is just practice, and no matter how much you love it, this won't become your final. Your final, like if you choose this a mandala for your artwork, it's got a sort of a special design thing going on. So this is just for practice and drawing, you know, skill kind of enjoyment. Using shapes, establishing radial symmetry, and drawing those shapes. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best artwork ever, this is about a 4, okay? Not a 1 with just like a freehand chicken scratch garbage, but also not using rulers, not colored in, not compasses, not mistake free. It's about a 4. So on Schoology, if you choose this one, I have 3 templates. You're going to work on one of those. So you can do this on paper or digitally. You can print it off then and draw on it, which is what I did, or you can load it into your a drawing app and you can draw on it there. Okay, it's practice. So it's okay that it has the lines, is what I'm trying to say. So here are some examples of how you would start with a template and add things to it. It's important that whenever you're maintaining your radial symmetry, you do that by adding equally to all parts, okay, and all sides and all sections, all quadrants, whatever. So as you're moving from space to space, you don't just add like in one part and not the other. You got to maintain that to maintain the symmetry. So being a practice mandala means you do not need to use rulers or compasses, not using color. You don't have to erase every stray mark. Like if you look at my example here, there are areas you can see where I have like where I restated my lines, the ones that I wanted, and some extra lines remain, not tons, but some. That's okay. All right. I used a quarter to trace circles that I felt like I needed a little bit more precision. That's fine. But you see like those half circles I have in the outer ring, I drew those by hand and you can tell. That's okay. I tried to find like the midpoint on that straight line and I used that like as a visual cue. And then I used in a straight line by hand, no ruler. And then I used that to make the half circle sort of arch. Okay, so do things like that and don't worry about ultra precision. This also shouldn't, this is classwork, so it shouldn't take you 7 hours. Okay, it should not. All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is like a 4. And then here is the reflection question slide. The presentation of the mandala, whatever, does not have a question slide. I think that was it. Okay, so let's go to Schoology and see what this looks like. Here is your page. And if you go to this, it looks a little bit crazy, okay, because there's choice 1, that's the instruction and the reflection. Then there's 3 different templates that you can look at. And then choice 2, instructions, and then the template. And when you click on that, it forces you to copy it, and then you'll just fill it out yourself. Let me show you what that looks like. What row? Why does it look like that? That is not what was supposed to happen. Hey, that looks good though. Look at that. Why did that happen? Oh my God, I'm so frustrated with these today. All right, well, I'll look into that. Yikes. Hey, he's off to a good start. A little hard to read there. Make sure you can read your lettering. It's supposed to make a copy, but I don't understand why his is showing up in here. Anybody understand that? Oh, Google, you make me crazy. sense to me. Okay, anyway, I'll fix that. First two periods, I couldn't even get that far, so that's an improvement. I'll go back to that for a second, because look, what it should look like is this. See, they're blank, and they're there waiting for you to do it. So I don't know why Aaron's is showing up. That's an awesome mandala. Look at that. Wow. So that one's cool. This is a really good example because look at it has sort of radial symmetry, but then it has also bilateral symmetry primarily. Remember we were looking at that yesterday, like a butterfly? It has bilateral symmetry because of the tiger and these things that are, I guess, like ears or something. But then it has radial symmetry kind of like underneath. That's a super cool interpretation and variation. Awesome. Okay, so that's where everything is located. Clearly, I need to continue working on that. Yikes. All right, when I go to the front page over here and I click on the mid-year survey, I've gotten everybody in this room. Yay, except for Emma. So I was going to tell you guys you should be working on that today. And you can get oh, Piper too. Oh no, I got Piper's. Then you need to do that, and then you can work on your classwork, get started on your classwork. And I'm going to need to figure out how to fix that again. But I will do